Okay, to everyone on Zoom, can you hear me well? Hello, hello. Thank you, Luke. Okay. Let's. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How was you guys' weekend? Good? Okay. So a few things to go over for today is I wanted to talk about the Wireshark assignment very quickly. Oh, we're in the wrong course. Usually professors make that mistake when they teach, and now I'm starting to make the same thing. So if we look at the assignments and we look at the Wireshark, there's just a few, just a small change that has been made to the assignment since the major revision. And that is usually with question two. And what's going on is that when you open the link directly, it is it's non-secure, so it's using HTTP, the regular. But what would happen is that in some students, when you access this link, it turns into HTTPS. So modern browsers, what typically do is that they change it from HTTP to the HTTPS. I tried it on Firefox, and that does not happen. This problem does not happen at all. And it's typically maybe it's done on the location too, because I opened it at the house and it would change to S, but here it's not, which is very, very weird. So either way, what I have done is I have captured the traffic for this second website, and I made a file that can be downloaded. So you have the option, like if you want to go and click on it and trace it, but make sure that it does not switch to HTTPS, because if it does, then it gets encrypted and you cannot see the GET messages and the OKs. So you have either or. So this is just a small notice about that. Does anyone have questions about the Wireshark assignment? No? Okay. That is good. Okay, going into modules very quickly. So we're currently in week 5. And last week we covered HTTP. We talked about cookies and web caches. Then we talked about SMTP and we talked about DNS as well. And for today, it's gonna be touching back on HTTP and SMTP from a practical view, and we will install the Cisco Secure Client for the VPN for the students that want to work, for the students that want to connect to the Wi-Fi on UCF, and we will also install Mobile Xterm. This is what I'm going to be using on here going forward if we do any more practical work. But we also have an alternative if you are using Mac, so there shouldn't be an issue. So based on schedule, assignment 1 is supposed to be released on Wednesday, and that is the wrap of chapter 1, the application layer. So with this lecture, with using Mobile Xterm, downloading the VPN and accessing the Eustace server, it should set you up good for the assignment so that you're aware. And we're going to cover and do cool things like sending an email from the SMTP server to yourself maybe or to someone else and see if that you have received it. We'll also do the same thing that we did similarly with Wireshark, but from a telnet view, and we'll use a specific port number for that. So that is it. What we will do here in a minute is we will first download the VPN, and I'm pretty sure that most students, for the most part, are aware. I made these two documentations for the students that are not aware on how to download it and how it works. And actually, the time when I was lastly when I was using it, there wasn't used to be a verification on it where you have to log in and you have to select that you're a student for you to get access to the VPN. So all you need to do is follow this report, which can be found in the modules under week 5, and this link will take you to it. So in order to download it, you have to specify what you are, what your credentials is, and obviously for you, it's going to be students. So for me, it's going to be faculty, and it's going to have you actually log in similarly to the way you log into your web course. It's going to need to verify as well. And then I think this is the agreement that you have to accept, the guidelines set by them. And then here, I think automatically configure is that I'm using Windows, right? I think for other users, it should say download for Mac. But here we will download for Windows, and just open this very quickly. It's not done. Yep, you have to sign in, and for Windows, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. On Mac, it's a little bit different. You have to, I think after you download it, you will have a .dmg file. And this is the file that you will be able to download for Mac. This is not, the mic isn't working, right? No? Can you guys hear me well without it? Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. Just set up, you accept the license agreement. Then we'll install it very quickly. If you are using Mac and you cannot install it properly, or you need any help, you can stop by in office hours of my office hours of the TA. But it is usually straightforward. Um, yeah, so once you have downloaded fully, all you have to do is just from your Explore page, type in Cisco and then just hit connect. It's going to make you log in again, and then you should be fully connected. And after you connect, it's gonna keep track of your time, how long your session is using the VPN. And usually when you go idle, I'm not sure how long you go idle for. What tends to happen is that it would disconnect you and then you have to reconnect again. So this is very important for you to download and get familiar with, so that when you are doing your assignments, especially for maybe homework 1, and if you are working from home, you will need this for your assignment. So that is the first thing that we have. Any question on this VPN? Okay, it's good. The second thing is we're gonna have the mobile X term. And this is also going to be straightforward to download as well. And if you have not used mobile X term before, it is very nice graphical user interface that would allow us to connect to the Eustace server. So also you can find this report on week 5. And this to let you know that this is only available for Windows. So if you are using Mac, you do not need to download mobile Xterm. I mean, it's not available for you to begin with, but you just open your terminal directly, and you just log in the SSH with your UCF ID, and it should be all good to work. So I think you're a Mac user, right? Have you tried logging in before? Okay, okay, perfect. This is for Windows. We'll just go and install it very quickly. So once you get here, this is the latest version, the version 25.1, and it's also highlighted in red here. We're gonna go ahead and download it. I downloaded it yesterday actually, but this is just to have a recap of it. Should be the same one, yeah. And then unzip it very quickly. We'll do next. Accept. Have it as is. Okay, we can go ahead and launch mobile extern. Yeah, this is all that you should need to log in. Let's log in with SSH very quickly. So once you come here, you just click Start Local, or I think you can do it via Sessions and go to SSH and specify the session the remote host for the secure shell. But if you start local here and you type in SSH, then you're gonna specify your NID. And every student should have access by now because the department usually enrolls all the students with this after the add or drop deadline. So use this. Now, once you get to this page about your password, when you usually type, it's gonna be hidden for the security purpose. But just type in your password and then hit enter, and it will tell you if it's allowed or not. So I am typing now, but it's not showing on screen. So once you get like to save a page shows up to save your master key, that means that you are in. Am I missing something? ECS. That UCF.edu. This is weird. Um, it's- hmm, oh, there we go. Okay. I'm not sure what the issue was. We can go ahead and clear this out. Okay, so this is what would happen after you would log in. The use of using MOBA Xterm is really ideal, such that you can open a specific file here from your directory, and your files will show up here. And this is very maybe useful for when you are doing the programming assignments, the socking programming assignment to be specific. You would have your Python files here, and then you can edit them within the same interface. And then you can also run the code here as well. So that is the idea of using mobile extern. Going back, we're gonna do two very like mini labs that are correlated to what we studied in the previous lectures. One is gonna be about HTTP, and another one is gonna be about SMTP, how to send an email. And we're gonna see how you can send it to multiple recipients, type in the data, and we can tweak a little bit with it using the Longwood UCF server. So just to give you a rundown, and you should already be familiar with this by now, is that persistent and non-persistent HTTP. Persistent keeps a connection open for all the objects to be sent. Non-persistent would have to go and do it per object. For the HTTP request messages, we have request and response. Within the request, we have different request lines such as get, post, head. The request and response message is being typed in an ASCII human readable format, and it contains various things like the version of the HTTP, the host, user agent, and various things. Here's the general format that we talked about. We would have a request line, a header line, and a body that entails what the data is. These are the various HTTP methods that we mentioned about. We have post, which is when we are filling something out, like a survey. It could be various things, maybe an application. The get is we were usually requesting something from the server. Maybe it could be a web page or object on the web page. Head method here would only give you the details. It would not give you the full details. It would just give you the headers of your request. And the put method is to upload a new file. And we talked about how it could be uploading an image or uploading a file that you want to share, such that maybe you upload a file to your iCloud or Gmail, Google Drive. And here's the response message that we do get. It's similar to the request. A couple of things that get changed is we have the status codes that we have to remember and deal with, and which we will explore in the lab that we will do today. It has the date, last modified, and all those various things. So the structure is still the same. We have the status line, header lines, and the requested HTML file. Here are the status codes that we'll use Telnet for teletype network to do to get these codes, and we will see maybe a couple of them today. I tried to maybe have an example for each code such that we can see and explore it. So we know what the codes are, meaning we have 200, that means request is succeeded. 301 is moved somewhere else. 400 is a bad request. Could be that we typed something wrong. It can become a bad request. 404 is not found, and 505 HTTP version is not supported. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use Telnet for both labs. And basically what Telnet is, it's a terminal emulation program used to access remote servers. So we're going to access the remote server for SMTP that we have here on UCF with the specific protocol, which should be protocol 25. When we work with HTTP, obviously we have a different port number. This would be port 80. And I think for HTTPS, it would be port 433, and that is the one that is encrypted. Similarly to the website that we had previously on Wireshark. So there's no graphical user interface. I mean, there is in the essence that you think we are using mobile Xterm, but it is just text-oriented utility. So it allows us to like send commands, create files, run programs, and various things that we can do on here. So we're gonna try it out ourselves and see what we do get. So we can put this to the side. We won't need that. We can enlarge this one. So we can put to the top. Okay, so the first one we're gonna do is we're gonna telnet into this specific website, dpgraph.com, and we're gonna see what shows up. So when we do telnet dpgraph.com.80, we are just establishing a connection with the specific host using the port number that is specified or set maybe by the IEEE or the RFC of when it comes to the networking blueprint or guideline. So Telnet itself has a port number. It is port number 23. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna telnet, and you can follow along. And here is very on mobile term, it's and I think typically it's with using the command line, it's very sensitive so that even if you're mistaken by a small letter, it won't allow you to go back and delete it. So just be aware of that. So we're gonna have a lot of that today, maybe. So when we type in the website, and let's open the website actually here to give you an idea of what the website is. So here's the website that we have, and that we are gonna try to telnet into, okay? So we're gonna telnet dpgraph.com/80. This will open a connection. It's gonna say connecting, connected to, and when you see that escape character is, that means you are ready to begin. You are connected to the host, and you are ready to begin requesting what you want from the host. I'm just gonna wait here a little bit because what tends to happen is when you go idle for a little bit, for probably 15 seconds, 30 seconds, it would close out the connection itself. And this is the same idea that with, you see here, connection closed by the host, and then it goes back. So this is similarly to the idea of when it comes to persistent HTTP, the connection gets closed by the idle time. So what we'll do here is that we're gonna do the same thing again. Telnet into this website, and then we're gonna ask for a get command. HTTP, and then 1.1. The slash here that we have here is you can think of it get from the main website. I mean the main web page on the website. This specific HTTP version. And there's saying no such file or directory. This is what I wanted to show you, that it is case sensitive and you have to be very critical with the commands that we do request. So every time that you will have an issue, that most likely what you have to do is you have to close out the connection, and you can do Control C for that. I know in some commands it could be Control Z or whatever it could be, and then we will do the connection again. So here what we had is that the problem is with the get. The get has to be capital. They're requesting get space HTTP. See, it closed out. You have to be very quick. So get slash HTTP slash 1.1. And we also have to type in the host, which is going to be dpgraph.com. And then you have to double enter 2 times to get to get the result. You're gonna see a lot of like HTML language here that is at the bottom, but here our goal is to go to the top. And this is what I wanted to show you. This specific link was on our Wireshark assignment, but I ended up replacing a new one because it changed to HTTPS. So based on the URL that we are typing, it is not the S. So we are getting 301 moved permanently, meaning that this website has moved to somewhere else, and this is what would what had happened with the Wireshark assignment, and why I had to replace it, because it changed to incorporating TLS. It used to be a plain HTTP version. So here's one of the commands that we see here is moved permanently. Obviously, we can do the same thing on Wireshark, and we would receive the results graphically. On Wireshark interface, but here is just via requesting it via teleporting. So it also talks about the connection keep alive, and this is saying that is persistent. It gives us the content length, the date that we requested this specific request. And then we have their server host name, which is here like speed, I think. And this is the location it has moved to. We know that with 301, it has moved to permanently. So it moved to this specific location. which is the same link that we had open, but it just it has TLS encrypted onto it. Okay, so that is the demonstration of 304 not being found. What we want to do is we want to demonstrate the 200 status code. So with this one is we're going to use a different website here, but ideally we're going to do the same thing. We're going to telnet to here the second website, testfire.net, and 480. And we're going to type in git. See, now I have messed up. So when you click the erase button, it just makes a lot of characters such as H here. So what I typically do is I enter 2 times to close out the connection, and then I repeat the same process again. And it can get very, I would say, annoying. So just bear with me. HTTP 1.1. And we have to specify the host, which is going to be test fire. So if we should go back up here, we should receive the connection that is okay. So it's using the Apache server, and it's replying with 200 okay, saying, hey, we got your request. And this is also setting a cookie session that we talked about cookies, such that when you access a website, it sets an indicator number for the specific cookie, such that when you go back, it can remember kind of where you have left off. And we said that could be a privacy issue as well. And here, the same thing, the date is written up here. So that is for the other status code that we have within HTTP. If we want to do, for example, if we open this website here, right? Testfire.net, which is also part of your Wireshark assignment. But here we have multiple objects on this page, on this banking websites. If, for example, that we want to access the personal page, then we would do http//personal with the same thing. So let's do that, requesting an object within the main page within a website. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do telnet test fire, and then we're going to do git space. Oh, I have messed up. The git needs to be capital. What do we have here? Okay, yeah, that should be it. So git space/ personal space/http/1.1. Okay. Guess I wasn't fast enough. So what I can do is we could copy it. And a good idea that you can actually do is write your commands on your notepad such that you can just directly paste it and don't have to worry about the syntactical issues that comes with it, and just for a quicker way and efficient when doing your assignment, or maybe doing the request in general. So we can paste. This fire.net. What did we do here? Okay, this is actually good. We want to see the bad request. What is being done here that is wrong is escape character getnet testfire.net. We are opening the connection here, and get/personal HTTP 1.1 is not showing up. Something is going on with a specific request. So we have messed up in somewhere along here. Get Okay, get privacy. I see. I think that's the issue. So if we go back, we have to type in get space slash, and then you won't put another space. It would be just personal. And then space HTTP slash 1.1. We also type in the hosts, which is going to be testfire.net. And that should do it. So that has given us the request for another object. And it's also saying here that it's not found. That is weird. It is on here, personal. Personal.html. Have I wrote personal capital? No, it's lowercase. I don't believe you have to specify the HTML because here what we have is, okay, let's try it one more time. Okay, it's personal. Maybe this time type in .html. Ah, yeah. Let's do type in .html and try that. Let me actually do clear first. This is getting really confusing. And then let's try it again. Okay. And then we're gonna do get slash personal.html and then HTTP slash 1.1. And then the hosts test fire.net. That is very weird. I'm not sure if it's something that's going on with the request or the specific website that is not finding this special web page. We can skip this for now and move on to the next thing, but that is very weird that it's not doing it. Let's try it with maybe the DP graph. dpgraph.com. And then port now would be port 80. Okay, and then get slash privacy. And this is a page that it should be on that specific website. Did it close it? Yeah. And then get slash. This is really testing my keyboard skills. Okay, slash 1.1. Type in the host. I messed up. Give me one moment. So let's enter 2 times. I think. Why is it not letting me exit? It's usually Command C, or if you click dot, it will let you exit. This is weird. The escape. This one you mean? You said control what? This one? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, what we could do is we could just open a new portal, but this is maybe we could try it. That happened to me yesterday as well, but it signed me out. Um, that's it's very weird. Okay. What we can do is we can just restart a local terminal again, and we're gonna SSH, and then it's AL. No, it's at Eustace. At Eustace, right, guys? At Eustace. Okay. Eustace.eecs. Okay. No. Oh, and actually, what you could do is you can make a key master for this where you don't have to enter your password every time. So let us just try it one more time and see. And a cool thing about mobile XTerm, I mean, regular and generally when we speak about command line interpretation, if you click the up arrow, it usually brings back your old command that you typed, so such that you don't have to retype it again. But let us just do that one more time and see what would happen. So git slash privacy HTTP 1.1 and then host www.dpref.com. Yeah, it is saying move permanently because we are asking for a GET request. So I would have to find another website that would, because what we're trying to do again is we're trying to request this specific object, the personal page, from this website. We requested a request from the main website itself, the homepage, and it worked. But I'm not sure why it's not working for that. I just wanted to show you that how you can request another object, but it's not really something that is very major. I think we have covered all of them, all the status codes within HTTP. So that is another way that we could. Uh, we've seen a bad request. I just want to show you one more request that of a status code, which is that we have here, which is the 505 HTTP version is not being supported. Okay, so back to our example, we're going to use again our website, the test fire. So what we'll do is that we would do telnet test fire 8 port 80. We're going to ask for git, and then we're going to do HTTP slash 1.1. Actually, here what we're gonna do is not ask for port. It's not ask for HTTP 1. We're gonna ask for another version. That's what I was trying to depict, is that when you ask for a different version, it should ask you, hey, this HTTP version that you're requesting is not being supported. So when we do telnet test fire, we're gonna do git slash HTTP. And you can request any version here, maybe an imaginary one, 9.3, for example. And then we will type the host. The reason that you have to type the host here as well, because there could be a lot of hosts with the same name. So it's just telling you to specify that again. So testfire.net. And here it's saying not supported, obviously, because we are requesting a version of HTTP that is not being supported by the website. And this is just a random a non-existent HTTP version. There's no such as 9.3. We know there's HTTP HTTP and HTTP 1.1 and 2 and 3 with each one having its own advancement or upgradement. So that is it for HTTP as a protocol, more with mobile extern, more with telnetting using the port number. So this is just another way that you can see the request for a given website request, and you could do the same with Wireshark as well. So two different ways. But this is also a fundamental to get you used to mobile extern and that using Eustace, because it will be part of our programming assignment and potentially the first homework. So the next thing we're going to do, which is a little bit relative to what we discussed last week, which is about the SMTP. We want to send the SMTP, and we want to send an email maybe to ourselves. You can send it to your friend, and we want to see how you can send an email following the protocol from the RFC, and what are the inputs for it and how it works specifically. So we talked about emails a little bit here. We said that there's three major components: the user agent, which is us typing the email on Gmail, Outlook, it could be whatever. And then we have the user, the mail servers, which is those are the mail servers that store and push out the email using POP3 or IMAP protocol. And then the protocol that we do use is SMTP. This is to simple mail transfer protocol. So we said that the agent, which is the AKA the mail reader, composes, edits a message, and then it could be Outlook. So once the message gets sent, it gets stored on the server, which also has a queue. And then how the mail servers work, it contains incoming requests for users. You can think of it as a regular server client to server request of HTTP. But here that we have the mailbox, which contains incoming messages for user, and there's a message queue for the emails that should be sent out. So the SMTP is the protocol that works between the client and the server. And we talked about the example here that Alice wants to send an email to Bob. Alice here we have is the user agent. She writes her email on her device on any platform of email. She sends it to step 2 that gets sent. It reaches step 3, which is the mail server. And then from Alice mail server, it goes to Bob's mail server and it gets stored there. And then it gets sent to Bob and then Bob receives the message. Okay, this is the actual documentation coming from the RFC for the SMTP. So it specifies that, hey, in order to use SMTP, you have to use port 25, which we will be using today. And it's a direct transfer, so sending server acting like a client to receiving server. There's 3 phases of the transfer. There's a handshake, which is the greeting that when we talked about in the last lecture, hey, first you have to connect saying, hey, it's just similarly like HTTP with TCP, there is a handshake that we will talk about here. So there's transfer messages and there's closures. And this is the idea here that we have. We have a hamburger, which is the server, and Krebs is the client. First, it sends a message, it says, hello, Krebs.fr, and it says, pleasure to meet you. Then we start writing the email, which is the content of the email, such as the subject, recipients, and the data. And we will do that here all on the command line. This is just a cool way to send the emails using the server that we do have here. So when we're gonna use Telnet, but depending on the server that you do have, so here you could replace the Telnet server name with maybe Google server name or Gmail or Yahoo, but it's not easy as that because usually these servers tend to block out Telnet because Telnet doesn't have any encryption and it's not really recommended. We are here using it just for practical and the explanation of the protocol itself. So we're going to do telnet server name. We're going to use the UCF server name, and then we're going to type in port 2025, 25. We should see a reply from the server, which is a status code of 220. Then we will enter and write an email out. So if we enlarge this right here. So we're going to do first, let us clear Okay, and then we're gonna do telnet. We're gonna use the Longwood. This is the UCF server that we have here, longwood.cs.ucf.edu, and we specify port number 25 as we see in the image. It's gonna try to connect and it's gonna say, hey, you are connected. And I think the same thing happens. If you stay idle for a little bit, it would say, hey, it's has been closed. Maybe not with this protocol, but we will see what will happen in a minute. It should tend to kick you out as well. But oh, also it tells you, hey, the specific date as well, with the response message. Okay, continuing with the slides. So if you want to refer to the actual protocol that is being written by the RFC or you can say the IEEE, you can refer to it here. But when we talked about protocols, it is set guidelines that we must follow. So we will do the same as well here when we send the email. The first step is mail from, and you want to type the host name for where the mail is coming from. Okay, that is the first thing that you do. And the second thing is that we put recipient two, and we can have multiple command lines of those. It doesn't have to be just one. And then after that, we click data, and then we write a message that we do want to write out. Okay. I think this is just getting repeated, right? No, it went back up. Okay, I think we can go ahead and start writing the email. So you can use your personal email, you can use your UCFID email, NID email, and we will just give it a shot. So the first thing that we have to do is obviously telnet to the Longwood UCF server and use port 25. The first thing that we have to do is we have to send an acknowledgement to the server. And now the connection is in session, but now we have to send a request to the server. So that is usually by typing in, and it's the same thing that goes here. So you have to be very sensitive about. Usually to end an email, when we'll see here that when you write your data and you want to leave, you just click period and it would close out the request. Here it's very different. I'm not sure what is going on here again, but it should stop the connection. But just start a new local and very quickly. Here we're gonna click no. Here. Here we're gonna connect to the server again. It's not there. Shit. Oh, I forgot to specify the port. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is send anything to the server so we can get an acknowledgement back. So you can say hello, this is at test.com. And then it's going to reply, nice to meet you. I mean, you are ready to start your email. So that is the first thing that we do. Okay. And then after that, we can start writing the email. So once we are connected and you get a pleasure to meet you, you can type in your mail from. So you type in mail from, and then this is going to be what's showing when you receive an email. This is going to be what is showing on there. So I'm going to use my university. I'm going to use my Gmail here, or I can send it to myself from, just send it from my UCF email to my UCF email. So once you type in the email, you should receive a sender okay, 250. If we go back to the status codes, that means it is accepted. And even here with the example that we have about the hamburger and the other email. And then to send the email to the recipient, you type in RCPT, and this is going to be 2. And you can send it maybe to your same email if you like. If you want to send it to another email, you can do the same thing. So let's say I want to send it maybe to a Gmail or to something else. I won't do that here, but you can send to multiple recipients. So after you have gotten your from and to, what you would type in is you would type in the data, and then it would tell you here, hey, here you can type in your data for the email, and it goes line by line. There's really um, no limit to what you can write and what characters you can write. So we can put here is maybe from. We can say from maybe we can say CNT 4704 support. At ucf.com, and here it could be anything. It doesn't really matter if it's .edu.com. 2 is I'm gonna put my email here, and this whatever you are writing here, the data is not really correlated to what you have written up there. This is the mail from, and the mail to is where it's gonna get sent to. Okay, and then you can do maybe to Ali Alkinoon at ucf.edu, and you can put a subject. Typed it wrong here, but I do not want to, because it has the same idea. So this is email. I typed an email wrong, but this is an email test. And then you can enter greetings. You can type in anything that you would like. This email is being sent using. And then after you're done with writing your data, all you would have to do is you would just click a period, and then you click enter. And then you will see that it would specify a unique number for the email that is being sent, and it says accepted for delivery. And to show you here I got the email notification on my phone, but if you tried as well, you should get a notification for the email on your side as well. Okay. So that is that. You can really be when adding and I was reading more about this, is when you want to add a specific picture or you want to add some attachment to the email, it's a little bit harder than this plain version. You would have to be, but this is kind of out of the scope of how the protocol works. We just want to know how the SMTP works as the email. So basically the same idea repeats. I am using a specific server. I am writing the email here. I'm sending it to the server. It gets sent to my server first, and then it gets sent to the receiver server, and the receiver server uses a different protocol to push out the message to the receiver. So this is the idea. Has anyone tried it or done something like this before? No. Okay, you can try it at home. Let me try to show you maybe the email that I have got, and it should show us here. If we go, I think it's under junk. No, this is not it. Yeah. So greeting, this is email being sent, and this is that we specified the from email. So yeah, that is the idea of SMTP with when it comes to the protocol itself. In our next lecture, we will continue with with the DNS, and then we will talk about when it comes to video and audio broadcast, how it would get sent with this. Yeah,
So 58 FLK 22 on the bottom line, is that in reference to this current computer? Is that like the idea of this computer you're using?
which one exactly?
So it says 250 2.00 on the bottom line.
On the bottom line?
Yeah, it says 250 2.0. The 58 FLK 22, is that the idea of this computer that you're using now?
It could, you mean like the host name?
Yeah, like it just looks similar to what I've seen in the past for like an identifying number for my computer.
Yeah, it could be. What I was thinking it was that is it is the delivery unique code, because there is a specific command that you can type into your server, your email server, and you would see the emails that are on and the buffer that to being sent. Since here, this specific unique code could be related to our host name, could be not. But how can we check is the question. So there is, I think, a specific command that I was looking at to check. You were gonna ask a question as well?
How does it know? How does it verify? Does it use connected to the research server?
Yes.
Can I just write whatever I use it dot edu and the dash for that?
No, you can write like anything that you want. You can write like you can write any domain. It doesn't have to be UCF, because this specific server doesn't have any like of the mark and all these protocol the security or the details that would come with the protocol. It would allow it. But and you can write you can write batman@yahoo.com, Batman.
So how would it verify?
Yeah.
I can just send whatever I want, add whoever I want.
Yes, you can send whatever you want, but the idea here is that when you're sending an email, it is for the purpose of learning how the protocol works. But when it comes to actually using a server of a company to mass or phish emails, it is not going to allow you to send, hey, any phishing email. It verifies and checks. So that is the idea of it. Going back to this, let's see if we can find a way. I don't believe it's the host number. We could check. I have a command.
I was just thinking like that first bit is the computer identifier and BDX separating the other two 946.
Yep. Yeah, it could be. Give me one moment here. Just trying to find it really quick. Do you have the command that you can check usually the ID? You remember off your head?
It might just be you could like you minimize all of those. You see, it might just display it on the screen.
Like here?
No, this is back.
Maybe because this is my
Oh,
local.
this is here.
Yeah, this is my personal. I think and I believe I can double check on this, but from observing and working on this, it's either the confirmation or the unique code for the email that is being sent, whether it was delivery or for it to be sent out. So it's a delivery confirmation. And I don't think it has anything related to your DNS or your ID or your computer ID or your laptop ID. But I can look more into that for. Okay. That is fine. So yeah, so we are good for this lecture. Next lecture, as I said, we will continue with the chapter. And if you have any questions, you may ask them now or stop by in office hours. Otherwise, you are dismissed.